It's official. Donald Trump is the Republican Party's nominee for President of the United States. Mali's ambassador to the United States talks about his country's future. And a Hollywood star fights back against her Twitter trolls. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gidoyuat. This is Africa 54. Many political observers said he couldn't do it, but outspoken businessman Donald Trump outlasted more than a dozen Republican presidential candidates to win the party's official nomination Tuesday night. Trump's coronation as the party's nominee for President of the United States came on a day when his former rivals and Republican leaders rallied behind the New York billionaire to battle presumptive Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. VOA's Jim Malone has more from Cleveland.
Delegates and alternates.
Donald Trump's long-shot campaign for president paid off big Tuesday when Republicans formally confirmed him as their nominee for president following the traditional roll call of the states.
Donald J. Trump, having received a majority of these votes entitled to be cast at the convention, has been selected as the Republican Party nominee for President of the United States.
It was Trump's home state of New York that clinched the nomination, and the tally was announced by his son, Donald Jr.
Congratulations, Dad, we love you!
And for the second straight night, Trump broke with tradition and spoke to the convention, this time in a live video hookup from his office in New York.
Together we've achieved historic results with the largest vote total in the history of the Republican Party. This is a movement, but we have to go all the way.
With Trump's nomination secure, Republicans moved to heal their party after a divisive primary battle and seemed eager for the general election campaign. House Speaker Paul Ryan.
What do you say that we unify this party at this crucial moment when unity is everything?
Scenes of unity inside the hall were in sharp contrast with protests that continue just a few blocks away. Though most of the demonstrations have been peaceful, a scuffle did break out Tuesday when anti-Trump protesters clashed with a conservative talk show host, which brought a swift reaction from police.
He understands.
Meanwhile, former rivals for the nomination, including retired surgeon Ben Carson and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, took aim at Democrat Hillary Clinton.
We know exactly what 4 years of Hillary Clinton will bring. All the failures of the Obama years, but with less charm and more lies.
Josh Price, a Trump delegate from New York, says the country is ready for a political outsider.
I think that he comes across very well as someone who's blunt, who's direct, and who doesn't talk like a politician.
Ohio delegate Dan Carter opposed Trump in the primaries, but is now ready to back him.
I mean, there's always animosity. Hell, I still got problems with Rockefeller Republicans, but we all work together. I was a Barry Goldwater guy.
On Wednesday, the convention focus turns to foreign policy. Jim Malone, VOA News, at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland.
Now, in the middle of the Republican convention activity in Cleveland, Ohio, is Africa 54's Vincent Makori. Vincent, now it's official that Donald Trump is the presidential nominee for the Republican Party, and all eyes will be on him Thursday night when he speaks. What does he have to say to win over those crucial undecided voters?
Well, Esther, you can be sure that he will tell them he is a good man who means well for America. He will obviously tell them that he is not a traditional politician. He's a kind of an outsider. He's not necessarily politically correct all the time, but he has a great plan to make America great again. Be sure he will remind them that if they don't come over to his side, Hillary Clinton will win this election, and to them that will be more of the same for the next 4 or even 8 years. And they will obviously remind them that he is not a racist, but is a person concerned about the safety of this country, and therefore decided to take a tougher stance on immigration and as well as the fight against terrorism. He will really appeal to them and scare them as regards Hillary Clinton is concerned if she was to become president.
So, Vincent, would you say Tuesday night lived up to the theme, Make America Work Again?
I don't think so, because when you listen to speaker after speaker, in fact, they took every little minute to just attack Hillary Clinton. It was just like well-coordinated attacks on Hillary Clinton. You didn't hear much being said about what it is that Mr. Trump will do to make America's economy grow and become stronger and to help many Americans, get on their feet and have a better life. Well, we can say one that stood out was a speech by Donald Trump Jr. He really came out strongly, very articulately, talked about his father and how he values hard work, how he is a man who believes that there's nothing impossible to do if you put your mind to it, and therefore connected this to how he would perform as a president of this country and how he could improve this country, because he loves people, he loves hard work, and he appreciates people who work hard, even if they're not as highly educated as some may be. And so perhaps that one, but the rest of them, I think they spend most of their time just attacking Hillary Clinton.
Okay, and Vincent, tomorrow's theme, what is it on Wednesday, and who are the speakers tomorrow?
Well, the theme this Wednesday is Make America First Again. This focuses on foreign policy, trying to show why Donald Trump's foreign policy will be better than the current president, or perhaps Hillary Clinton. And we'll have the featured speakers include two of his former rivals, Ted Cruz, that man that he called Lying Ted, and Marco Rubio, the one he called Little Marco. Along with that, there will be Newt Gingrich, who's a former House Speaker, and he tried also to run for president in 2012, as well as Mike Pence, who will be running as Mr. Trump's running mate as vice president. We expect to hear what they will say about Mr. Trump and his foreign policy, why he's good for America out there.
Vincent, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you again tomorrow. Vincent Makori is Africa 54's anchor. He is reporting live from the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, Ohio. Earlier, Vincent spoke to two people attending the RNC who had divided opinions about Donald Trump. Let's take a listen.
Right now, it's the RNC in downtown Cleveland. There's a great deal of dissenting political opinions, specifically opinions from people that would strip me of the right to have even just particularly this firearm, if not all firearms in general. And I think to be able to come out with this kind of rifle, obeying the law, and to have civil discourse with those people that would disagree is absolutely the best way to ensure that I continue to have this right.
Now, we're talking about arms at a time when many Americans are concerned that it is the guns that are in the hands of or can easily get into the hands of civilians that are causing all these deaths across the country. What would you say?
Well, I would say that if you were truly concerned about firearms deaths, you shouldn't feel threatened by the one that I have. Because an overwhelming majority, upwards of 90% of all homicides are committed by small caliber handguns. Not rifles, not shotguns, just handguns. But there's never been a public push to get rid of handguns. There's always been a public push to get rid of these kinds of rifles. And there's a reason for it. I can't say what it is. I'm not sure. But I do think it's illogical, to say the least.
What's your position on Mr. Trump?
My position is he's unqualified to hold any office, let alone the presidency of the United States. And it's embarrassing that the Republican Party would nominate this individual. It's unacceptable. It's outrageous, ridiculous. Same as my silly costume. That's the theme here.
What are the specifics? Very briefly.
I mean, the guy is a racist and a bigot and a misogynist and a bully and a terrible businessman, a bankrupt businessman repeatedly, and a fool. We don't need him. We deserve better.
But he's at the top of the ticket for his party. What do you think of the people who have, gotten him here?
Not much, sir. As you probably can guess, I don't think much of any of his supporters. They're misguided. They're scared. That's what it really is. Trump has divided us all, made people afraid of each other, has promised them that he can handle it and make it all better. Americans are afraid.
Joe Arpaio is the sheriff of Maricopa County in Arizona. Controversial and outspoken, Arpaio often boasts about his get-tough approach on illegal immigration. He's also built a reputation for his unconventional law enforcement tactics. He once housed inmates in outdoor tents, clothed them in pink underwear, and served them discolored green and blue meat, safe but unsuitable for sale to the public. Africa 54's Vincent Makori spoke with him in Cleveland.
So why am I controversial? Because I try to do the job. I'm an elected sheriff. I report strictly to the people. Over 4 million people I report to. And that feels good because when I was in my other life with the feds, I was a police officer in Washington. I was just on another station. I walked the Blackbeat, the toughest in America, for 4 years. Had a lot of assaults on me, locked up a lot of people, but we never brought this racial thing out. Now everybody's shooting everybody else, shooting cops. So where have we come in this country today?
Now, you are in the real frontline state as far as immigration is concerned. This is a very controversial issue. What to you is important, and how do you make sure that people don't feel that they're unfairly being targeted or being kicked out of this country, or even stopped from coming into this country when they need to come?
Everybody throws the race card out. They can't get me on anything else, so they say I'm a racist. I'm not a racist. Come on, I lived in Turkey. I was head of the Federal Drug Enforcement. Turkey, the Middle East, Mexico City, South America. I can go on and on. So I know the foreign people. My mother and father came here legally from Italia, Napoli. So I do have a little history dealing with international organizations, presidents, people. Now I'm here. I happen to be 30 miles from the U.S.-Mexican border. I've worked 35 years at the Mexican-U.S. border on both sides. So I think I'm one guy that knows where Mexico is. And by the way, when they talk about all the deportations that Obama is bragging about, let me tell you this. I've done surveys in my jail. 6,000 people in the jail for other crimes were here illegally. Turn them over to ICE. Over 38% have come back to the same jails I run. 38%. One guy came back 24 times. He should have been deported. If he was deported, we must have a real bad border for this guy coming back 24 times. But they're being let out on the back streets. So if you're going to have deportation policy, you ought to follow it.
Now, what is the relationship like with particularly those who are immigrants from, say, Mexico in your state? What do they tell you? Not necessarily those who are here illegally, but those who are here legally.
Illegally here?
Those who are here
well,
legally.
I don't know. I can't seem to convert them. Every time I have demonstrators around the country, I go out and talk to them, meet with them. They scream at me. Al Sharpton led 10,000 people against me. But you know what? I had him in my office after that. We sat down, we talked. So I like to talk to people to give them the real story. But it's very difficult sometimes now to talk with all this race stuff going on, illegal immigration, you know. So it's we're living in a tough time right now.
That was Joe Arpaio, Sheriff of Maricopa County in Arizona. Be sure to join Africa 54 on Thursday and continuing coverage of the Republican National Convention. Turning to business news, the telecommunications sector is improving Africa's gross domestic product as sub-Saharan Africa struggles with economic challenges. Joining us now with more is Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino in New York. Hello, Jill.
Hi, good afternoon. So we've been focusing on industries outside of the commodity sector when examining the future of Africa's economy. Just last week, we featured the exploding entertainment industry in Nigeria, and now I want to highlight some areas of technology and communications. Developed nations are virtually saturated with different types of telecommunications, while Africa is still promising for investments and huge opportunity exists for growth in the industry. We're seeing numerous deals between Chinese, European, and Middle Eastern countries and Africa as the information superhighway expands. According to KPMG, straightforward subscriber growth is slowing in the rest of the world, while Africa shows only 47% market penetration and offers 500 million potential mobile subscribers.
So besides the demographics, Jill, what has happened in the sector to make the African markets attractive?
So the liberalization of the sector, the extension of services by multinational conglomerates, and the active competition currently in place in the sector have all contributed to the telecom revolution. Since the processes of liberalization and privatization have been taken into consideration, their telecommunication infrastructures have improved drastically. Many African governments have developed their telecommunication infrastructure by privatizing their former state-owned enterprises. As a result, the telecom sector in the African sector has opened up new avenues of business opportunities.
So if you can give us maybe an example, a local example of technology and how mobile applications actually are helping the average African in the continent.
I'm really excited. Yeah, I can certainly share a great story. I'm really excited to share this story. I came across this morning on SciDev. A mobile phone-based innovation that can predict rain is helping farmers in 6 sub-Saharan African countries: Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Mali, Nigeria, and Senegal. And this app is going to improve crop yields and optimize food production through information and communication technology, or what's called ICG. It's a weather forecasting model that produces GPS-specific forecasts. It was created by Swedish-based Ignatia, and now it wants to expand in other West African countries. For these farmers, especially those in the dry climates of sub-Saharan Africa, the slightest change in weather could result in significant losses. A cocoa farmer from Ghana said using the forecast more than doubled his yield last year, and nearly 80,000 users have subscribed in just 6 months.
Jill, technology advancing Africa in so many ways. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you.
Jill Malandrino is Africa 54 business correspondent, reporting there live from New York. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, Mali's ambassador to the United States on how the country is tackling security challenges. Stay with us.
I am Sheka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today, we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of: politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
The West African nation of Mali is still struggling with violence despite a 2015 agreement aimed at bringing peace. In fact, a new armed organization emerged last month. But as we hear in this week's one-on-one with Peter Clotty, Mali's ambassador to the United States, Tiena Coulibaly, remains extraordinarily hopeful about his country's future.
What would you say has been the relationship, or is currently the relationship, between Bamako and Washington?
The U.S. is very much involved in the health sector, human health sector, is involved in local development. The U.S. has signed just last year a very, very, very important development program with the USAID. After the rebellion that has occurred in 2012, we have had negotiations in Alger in which the U.S. was again committed And so during those negotiations, everybody agreed that the North is somehow backwards compared to the South in development basis, and for that reason, the government has decided that it will invest a lot of money in the North so that the North would catch up.
How does that help your government in resolving some of the security challenges that you face in the North?
We have now, I think, 12,500, something like that. So we'll have 2,500 more to make it a total of 15,000 people. The Security Council has agreed to renew the mandate of the MINUSMA and take into consideration all the demands of the government of Mali. Again, thanks to the leadership of the United States.
Now, I understand some of these jihadists or mini rebel groups, if I may, were not happy about the extension of the UN mandate and the robust nature of the new mandate, such that during the month of Ramadan, they've been having sporadic attacks here and there. How is your government resolving to combat those kinds of attacks?
The main way for us to fight on our part of the jihadists is to have those joint patrols between the armed forces, the platform, and the CMA. But aside of that, of course, we need a bigger contribution of the UN forces. That is what's new in the more robust mission of the MINUSMA.
Let me ask you, is there a government plan to boost business activities, development plans up north?
The president of Mali is very, very committed in the implementation of the peace process. And what he says is that, if Mali lies down $1 and we get 900,999 to complete to $1 million from the international community, still the others are helping us. One of the biggest projects in the north is the dam of Tausa. Today, we have all the funding for the dam. We also have the funding for roads from Gao to Burem. The dam is in Burem, from Gao to Burem, and also from Burem to Kidal. All of that is there. What we're waiting for is just the peace, but the peace is not just, the peace is very, very important.
What do you see the North becoming in the next 5, 10, 15, perhaps 20 years to come?
The north of Mali is the future of Mali, because the north of Mali is very, very huge. We have a very, very big potential for agriculture. We have good land there. We have a very, very big potential for the production of the mines. The north of Mali is rich in underground wealth. And, it is the region in which more development can be. I expect that all the funds that have been promised to Mali, when all of that is there, there will be actually a move of the population from the south of Mali to the north, and that the land will be better occupied than it is now. So the north of Mali is the future of Mali. That's the way I see it.
Thank you, Ambassador Coulibaly.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a Hollywood star calls out Twitter and the social media giant listens. We'll be right back.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They tell you what people are talking about. So, for an in-depth look at the stories trending high on social media, turn to hashtag VOA. It's not your typical talk show. From politics to pop culture, hashtag VOA brings in the people leading the conversation, engages the audience, and gets answers to your questions. Hashtag VOA. Smart talk for smart people.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Madonna wasn't trotting on stage, but instead she was walking around the construction of a new children's wing for a hospital in the Malawian city of Blantyre earlier this week. The addition to the hospital is funded by Madonna's charitable organization, Raising Malawi, which the music icon has worked with since 2006. The new facility will include the nation's first pediatric intensive care unit, 3 operating theaters dedicated to children's surgery, a day clinic, and a 50-bed ward. Madonna has 2 Malawian-born adopted children, 11-year-old David Banda and Mercy Chifundo James. Next up, under a barrage of hateful posts on Twitter, Ghostbusters star Leslie Jones says she was in a personal hell and urged the social networking service to do more to eradicate abuse. In a series of posts, Jones says she was pummeled with racist tweets. She retweeted numerous tweets directed at her with pictures of apes. The recently released Ghostbusters has spawned a flood of criticism online. Many, however, came to her defense, tweeting under the hashtag #LoveForLeslieJ. And finally, a community skate park in the heart of Addis Ababa is helping to spread the sport across the Ethiopian capital. Covering an area of over 600 square meters, it is the first community skate park built in the heart of Ethiopia's bustling capital. Before this, keen young skaters only had parking lots in which to practice. At the heart of the Addis Skate Park project is a local community group called Ethiopia Skate that provides free skateboarding gear to 150 young members. Organizers hope the new location will empower the city's youth and perhaps even cultivate a successful Olympics team for Tokyo 2020. And that's what's trending today. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
Welcome to the Voice of America's News Words.
Does this word mean something good has happened?
Unleashed. The president is sending Secretary of State John Kerry to the Middle East to help build a coalition to defeat the militants who have unleashed a wave of violence that has included attacks on Iraq's Christians and other minority communities, and recently the videotaped killing of American journalist James Foley.
Unleashed means to let something very powerful happen quickly.
It is like taking a leash off a dog and letting it attack someone. In our story, the militants unleashed or set off a wave of violence.
Usually, unleashed does not mean something good.
So, the next time you hear the word unleashed, you will know what this news word means.